fighting and shagging.
Shagging?
Yeah.
It's a good thing to be kicked out of school for.
Yeah. That was my agent phoned me up the next day and was like, we can't have this. You need to step back and leave. And I was like, all right. And they went, there's a diversity problem. And I went, what does that mean? And they went, well, one of you's got to be black. And I was like, why? I say to my kids, if you're in trouble, the last person you should go to is a police officer. There's a deadly killer virus coming, it's going to kill between 500,000 and 1 million British people. And I went, bollocks. So I am legally a woman. I don't care if you're legally a woman, mate. What we need is a multi-headed hydra of people who are going to get out there and show that we are the many.
Information covered up, censorship, corruption. The mainstream media have proven itself to be untrustworthy. I'm here to give a platform for debate, for truth, for open discussion. I'm introducing you to my podcast, Silenced with Tommy Robinson.
Who exactly is Tommy Robinson, or Stephen Yaxley-Lennon?
The English Defence League, the EDL.
The problem is with Islamic integration.
English far-right Islamophobic activists.
Since then, there's been organised protests across the country in London, Manchester, Leeds. People in their thousands are marching for Robinson's cause.
There is no such thing in this country as a Muslim.
Free Tommy Robinson!
Welcome to my latest edition of my podcast, Silenced. I called it Silenced mainly because I'd been silenced, but I'd like to sit down with guests who have come under attack from cancel culture, lost their jobs, and one of those such guests is with me today, Laurence Fox.
All right, mate.
I'd say you've also faced the wrath of the establishment.
Yeah. They don't like me very much, do they?
They don't like anyone who speaks up very much, and I think you've probably realised that massively in the last few years.
I have, and I realised that we should have stuck by and noticed when it happened to you and to Katie to a degree as well, you know. But people were sort of on board with it for a while until they realised actually how bad it is. It's really bad as well.
I don't know if people understand how bad it is, but I'll start at the start of your life, if that's all right, just to understand who is Laurence Fox.
Yeah.
I think the first time I heard about you was over Megan Markle. And then I thought, who's this guy? And then I listened to you, I thought, yes. And, but if we can just start at the beginning of your upbringing, where was you born?
I was born in Leeds.
Oh, was you?
And I was raised in Leeds. My dad was an actor, and then he gave up being an actor to become a Christian missionary. And he worked in Leeds at the University, Sheffield and Leeds University, spreading the good word. And then after a while he went back to acting, so we moved back down to London, hence why I don't sound like that.
That's what I was thinking.
That's Manc actually. So
how long did you live in Leeds for?
I think about 5 or 6 years, I can't remember.
What, up until you was 5 or 6?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then came to London, went to little prep school out in the countryside, then went to Harrow School, and
Harrow. You know, I gave a speech there.
Did you?
Yeah.
Wow, when?
I wouldn't have thought that. I was invited to give a speech to
Brilliant.
Harrow, to all the pupils.
Really?
Yeah.
When?
When I was leading the Defence League. Harrow boarding school.
That's pretty cool.
I know. And
they were quite sound for a while, but then they got...
It was Conservatives who invited me there. A Conservative group within there, and the demographics, it was very mixed school at the time as well. I got a great reception.
Yeah.
I spoke honestly.
Well, I know it's only the media that sit and paint you as Satan, isn't it? It's not, as I find and you find, when you're walking around the streets, you're not spat at and threatened. You are a little bit.
Not anymore.
But by one or two people.
So you went to Harrow School?
Yeah.
And grew up where? How close to Harrow School?
My family were in Wimbledon.
Okay.
So that was nice. We used to go to Plough Lane every weekend and watch the football every other weekend. And then I left school, became a bit of a wreckhead, as you do, for a while.
Left it? Did you get your grades from the school?
I got kicked out of school.
That's what I was, out of Harrow?
Yeah.
What for?
Multitude of things, but fighting and shagging.
Shagging?
Yeah.
It's a good thing to be kicked out of school for.
Yeah. So...
at what age did you get kicked out of school for shagging?
8. It was literally the last little bit. Last stretch.
And that's an expensive school to go to, right?
I think now, even then, I think it was like 5, I think in the 90s it was $5,000 a term. I think it's now like 15.
So with that happening, what was your parents' opinion of that?
Well, all of us, every single member of our family was kicked out of that school, including my dad and his dad.
No.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I speak to my dad nowadays. I'm like, why did you send us? He's like, I have no fucking idea.
So your dad's dad went to Harrow, he got kicked out. Your dad went to Harrow, he got kicked out.
And all three of my brothers got kicked out as well.
The Fox family.
Yeah.
They must have just seen when the next Fox comes in.
I know, and then my little brother, they sent to a different school, and he was head of house. Like, he did really well. So there was something about Harrow that didn't fit.
What was it? Why do you think that was?
Well, I think they're preparing you to like run the empire or whatever the point of Harrow was, you know. And
So people understand Harrow's probably up there in the top couple of schools in the country.
yeah, it's the top two sort of Eton, Harrow, Gordonston. They're sort of really expensive schools, posh schools. And but I was raised around a table. My mum was a nurse in the health service, and she met my dad when they were up in Leeds, and we were raised on like arguing, and you know, we were raised in a very different way to Harrow, which is like rules, obey, systems, hierarchies, all that sort of stuff. So I lost my 4 front teeth within about, I don't know, a week of being there.
What, talking when you should have been listening?
Just bosh
Fighting.
on the back of on one of those, because the beds were like prison beds, you know.
Did you live at the school?
Yeah.
Oh, you were boarding. How? Because this is when I went there. Yeah, they had people who were boarding there from the age of from young.
No, they start boarding at like 12,
So
13.
And how was that? Because I could never.
Didn't suit me very much. I don't like it. It's like a sort of posh prison.
I think kids need their mum and dad. I think kids need their mum at that age.
Yeah, they do. I begged my parents to not make me stay there. So they were really sound. My mum and dad were really sound, but we'd grown up to talk about stuff. And when you arrived at school, then some guy turns around to you like on the 4th day and goes, "You got to buy something from my like Harrow School Industries, like buy a mug or something." I'm like, "Mate, no." And he was like, and I went to that house marshal. I'm like, "Well, it was him." And the house marshal went, "I'll deal with it." And then he was head of house next year, that guy.
Yeah?
Yeah. So, you know, all the institutional corruption starts young.
Oh wow, I would have thought they'd have been on top of stuff like that.
No, Chardat came in 91, but there was a lot of very, very dodgy stuff. Harrow threatened to sue me, actually, for some of the stuff I've said about them. All of it true.
What, since leaving?
Yeah, but just after I left, they threatened to sue me because I did an interview. Because I got my first movie job halfway through drama school, so I'd only been out of Harrow for a couple of years, and I got interviewed and I started talking about some of the stuff they didn't want talked about, to do with, you know, paedophile rings and various.
Tell me about what there's.
Well, there was
things you saw.
There was
things you heard.
There was we were summoned in front of the whole school.
You
and
what?
The whole school was summoned, and it was like, this master, and this master have left the school. Anyone who mentions their name will be expelled. And then I talked about the violence.
And those 3 masters left the school because they're abusing children?
I think they were part of a broader paedophile ring, yeah. That's what the rumours were. But, you know, it was back in the 90s.
Yeah. So it's not out there, yeah.
So I did that, went to Harrow, left Harrow, got kicked out of Harrow. My housemaster didn't write me, but I got all right grades, didn't got ABC or ACC in my A-levels. And I didn't get into university, so I became a sort of.
Why didn't you get into university? Because you didn't get a recommendation from the school?
I think a little bit, and also I hadn't really thought about it. I wasn't mad keen on going to university. I wanted to start earning some money.
Okay.
So I worked for a builder for a while, sort of glorified gardener, but I was just doing the moving around meters of soil and stuff like that, and digging trenches and various. And I worked for him for a couple of years. And then used to go out on the weekend and get mashed. And then my dad, I was sat down having breakfast one morning, and my dad went, "Do you gonna do anything with your life?" And I was like,
how old was you?
19, 20.
Okay.
And I went, yeah, no, I'll get round to it. And he said, "Why don't you just try acting? Go and, try it, see if you like it." I'm like, "All right, fine."
And you hadn't tried any acting up until 19?
I did like a school play or two.
Okay, but you hadn't.
It wasn't like.
Because your dad's a famous actor.
He's a famous actor, yeah. So I wasn't mad. I wasn't drawn to it. I must do this, and so I went to audition for drama school, and got really close to getting in to RADA, which is like the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art, really good drama school. And that annoyed me so much that I thought, I'm going to do it again and I'll get in. So I did, and I went back and I got in, and I spent 2 years there, and then they were auditioning for a movie called The Hole, which was going around, and my brother was working in an agency at the time, and he said, go in and audition. I auditioned, got a job, and then I started an acting career from then. Worked for 22 years acting. Did 10 of them. I did this TV show called Ulez, which was really popular, did really well. And then I came out of that and did this Netflix job, and they all started talking about, like, I got the job in the room. I was a gay Mancunian yoga teaching drug dealer. It was great. It was the best part, big Netflix, huge budget thing, and I was like, I've landed it. I'm not paying a posh boy, I'm not paying like some boring sort of,
You played a gay drug dealer?
Paying a gay Mancunian drug dealer.
I've made it.
Yeah, I've made it. And I got the job in the room, and then the director, who was actually the guy who directed my first ever job, I was waiting for a couple of weeks, and I was like, what happened? What's going on? Where's the contract, and where's the money offer and all that stuff? And they went, there's a diversity problem. And I went, what does that mean? And they went, well, one of you's got to be black. And I was like, why? And they said, it's just the way it's got to be, one of you's got to be black. And I said, but that's not good, is it? Because if you give it to someone just because they're black, that's like, it's not a really decent way of casting. They're going to be upset about that. True to form, the girl who got the job, who my other flip side of me, was back, and she came up to me on the first day and went, I only got this job because I'm black. And I went, I know, it's stupid, isn't it? But the kids on the job I've got so wound up by these little kids moaning about how, systemic racism and how hard
When you
their
say
lives
the
were.
kids, you mean
There's two generations of it. So for every one of us, for me and the girl, there was a young version of us from back in the day.
Oh, okay.
The drama kind of back and forward. And, the majority of those kids were just like the moaning little kids. They're on Netflix money. So we're talking tens of thousands of pounds a week. And they're talking about, oppression and all this stuff. And after a while, I just went, you're not oppressed.
Do you mind if I ask what the background of the kids was?
They're all, I don't know, will have all gone to drama school and all that sort of stuff.
They're privileged?
They were, not all, no.
Okay.
But they've still, there was a lot of diversity that we see all the time. And they're still going on about it. So I just started going, I never saw life like this. Like, if you got a job and you were getting paid a lot of money, I saw you as privileged. I didn't give a shit what colour your skin was. It's never really bothered me, because I'm a Christian, what colour anyone's skin is at all. So that started winding me up, and then I started getting a bit bored of listening to the radio and BBC and stuff, which I quite enjoyed for quite a long time. I like From Our Own Correspondent, and I didn't mind a bit of The World at One and various, but it got boring. And then, so I then started going, they're not telling the truth, these people. So I then started looking in about 2015, 2016, I started looking at other media sources and going, hang on a minute, why is like Thomas Sowell not on TV? Or Shelby Steele? Or
Who's Thomas Sowell?
Thomas Sowell, he's an amazing, he's 90-something now. He's a black American conservative writer, really smart man. He's the one who came up with that quote that racism isn't gone, but it's on life support, being kept alive by race hustlers and various. He's really on it. And then there's a guy called Shelby Steele who wrote a lot on this stuff, and I got into people like that, and I started going, there's actually a different narrative. So, and then I did music as well, so I wrote a political song, because I was listening to girls on film sets going on about, like, got to believe a woman all the time about everything if she says she's raped, and I'm like, well, actually, really, you've got to investigate the crime, because,
There's two people here.
Yeah, women don't always tell the truth, it's not, and that went down really badly. So I wrote a political song, I got invited on Question Time. Over the song?
When you say political song,
it was just
what are
saying
the lyrics?
Oh God, what are the lyrics? They put something in the water. They seek to cure. They want to kill the conversation. Essentially, it was about
censorship.
It was about free speech censorship.
And what year was this?
2019.
Okay.
So end of 2019, and then 2020, I get invited on Question Time, and I'm like, I'm going to fucking say it.
You're going to what, say it?
I'm going to say it. I'm going to say everything I want to say, and I'm not going to apologise after I said it, because I'm sick to death of being treated like we're being treated, you know, being made to feel like I'm in some way, well, I am in some way privileged, but there are a lot of people that aren't in some way privileged, including at the time my best mate, who was really struggling with extreme mental health problems, had no money, was really in deep trouble. And, you know, I was sick to death being talked about white privilege. I'm like, he's got no white privilege, he's just had a brain hemorrhage. And he can't afford to live. So I'd sort of planned, I went on and I started talking about Megan Markle, saying that she was just a whining cow.
This is the one I saw.
Yeah, because she is.
No one had said it though.
No, I sort of said it.
That's what it was.
Yeah, they'd implied it, hadn't
they? A lot of
they?
people had thought it.
Yeah. And then this woman says to me, you can't talk about it because you're a white privileged male. And I went, that's racist. You're saying that I can't have an opinion because I'm white. And therefore, you know, I'm privileged in some way, which I am privileged in many ways, but I'm also, you know, we all suffer in life, don't we? And I said, that's racist. And that then, the knives were out, because also it's the ultimate betrayal, right? Showbiz actor type. He's meant to turn up on Question Time and go, hey man, just need to love one another.
Meant to be woke.
Yeah, and I'm meant to be a bit woke, and I'm not woke. So that was that. The next morning, Equity went on the radio, Equity, the union, the actors' union, ironically called Equity, in the diversity, equity and inclusion world, and called for actors to denounce me. So I was like, whoa, hang on a minute.
The union, who's supposed to represent everyone.
Yeah. And I was like, that's a bit weird. So I said, I'll sue you if you don't take that down. But once that, you know what it's like with the process and the punishment and all of that. So that was that. And then people went for the classic, you're a racist, relentlessly. And then three showbiz people called me a racist after I said that I wasn't going to shop in Sainsbury's, because Sainsbury's are going, we're going to create safe spaces for our black employees. I'm like, why are they in danger? What's the problem? You know, why do they need safe spaces? What are you doing?
I find it insulting if I was black.
Well, it is. It's racist.
I find it absolutely insulting.
Yeah.
To be told.
So I said that. I said, you're process segregationists and this virtue signalling woke racism that you do. And anyway, these people from showbiz start calling me racist, so I called them paedophiles in return.
And this is the court case. That's where the court case come from.
Yeah, I thought if you're going to use a baseless slur against me, then I'll use a baseless slur against you in return. And then that was my agent phoned me up the next day and was like, we can't have this. You need to step back and leave. And I was like, all right, bye. Thanks a lot.
Up until this point in your life, up until 2019, when you opened your mouth about these things, had you ever been called a racist?
No.
Had you ever? So tell me how your life changed from that day onwards. And tell me, did you think, with what you've experienced since that, growing up until 2019, did you think we had freedom of speech? Did you think you could openly discuss? When you sat there on Newsnight, did you actually think through and think what might the consequences of speaking honestly about this be?
Well, I knew that there would be a kickback, but also I knew because I'd spoken to people, you know, and I've got a broad set of friends from all different backgrounds, skin colours and, you know, sexual orientations, and we were all pretty much in agreement about the stuff that I was saying. It was like divisive bollocks and it needed to be gone. So
this was 2019. When was Black Lives Matter? Was this before or after?
But Black Lives Matter was 21.
Okay, so this is before BLM.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I knew there'd be a bit of kickback, but in the room, if you watch it, in the room, the audience are like, "Yes, he said word." It was like
that's what I was like watching it.
They loved it.
Hey, someone said it.
And I got loads of letters from people saying, my favourite one is like, "It needed to be said." Yeah. Thank God you said it. You know, from like the vicarage somewhere, you know. And so I knew it would kick off, but I didn't think I'd get the like full cancel treatment. I thought they would go, okay, you're a conservative-leaning, socially conservative-leaning person, but we'll have you back in. But no, it persisted until it was fully cancelled. And then I was going out with a girl, and she was a journalist, and she said, someone wants to meet you. I was like, all right. So I was summoned up to this big building in London, and I went in, and there was a few people around the table, and they were like, what do you think is wrong with the country? And I was like, well, it's almost dead, is what's wrong with this country, because of the social experiment that's been played on it for the last 30 years. And they said, what's the solution? And I went, media. Start up a media channel that is not Ofcom regulated.
You're going to tell me this is the start of GB News, are you?
And push back. No, it wasn't GB News.
Okay.
One of the guys, who I thought was the guy who was making the decision, but wasn't, said, no, well, we think we need a political party, and we think we want you to lead it. And I was like, all right, I'll give it a go. And then, so I started a political party called the Reclaim Party, and then...
Do you mind if I ask who these guys were?
Yeah, so, the main guy is Jeremy Hosking.
Yeah.
Who is the...
What's their background?
He's just a really, I call him mini-gark. So he's from the billionaire class,
okay,
but he doesn't think like them.
Okay.
So he's not a sort of power-hungry guy. He just, the best way to describe him is he collects old steam trains, real ones. So he cares about stuff, and he was.
Is he a disgruntled Tory?
He's invested in the Tory party. He's invested in the Brexit party.
Okay.
He'd invested, and he said to Farage after Brexit party, he said, turn it into the culture party now, because we've got a culture war. And Farage, for all of his great strengths, I don't think gets the cultural problem in this country, other than the immigration element of the cultural problem. He doesn't understand. I don't think well, maybe, of course he understands it. He's a really smart guy, but I'm not sure he gets how insidious the woke thing is.
And what it's done to the next generation.
Yeah, I mean, it's destroyed that generation, for those that who have impressionable kids and bad parents. But Farage didn't want to do it, so I did it. And I just went out there and started waging war on them. And, it's been pretty much war ever since. And, like you say, I've had the cops don't like me very much anymore, like you, they don't like me, but I'll be stood there tomorrow on Saturday at the cenotaph, and I'll be waving at them as they walk past.
What was that experience like for you? You've been an actor for 20 years.
Yeah.
Have you ever been in trouble with the police before?
I was smoking weed when I was a kid.
Yeah, but so you've been a law-abiding citizen, doing a proper job, proper career, from a good family.
Yeah.
You open your mouth and talk.
Yeah.
From that point on, what's the experience been like?
It's quite scary. I sleep with a baseball bat by my bed.
Did you ever see yourself sleep when you was acting? 2016, 17, do you ever think in a couple of years I'll have a baseball bat here?
No.
Police will be kicking my door off?
Yeah, no, I was enjoying sitting on roof terrace bars, filming and getting paid 20 grand a week. It was great.
Is that sort of money you was getting?
Yeah, it was lovely.
And that all stopped as well? Like that?
Yeah.
From 2019? From
the minute I opened there was a little, we sort of tried to save it a bit after Question Time. But from the minute higher profile people started going after me and calling me a racist, then it was
the career was ended.
That was it. So yeah.
And so people get, because when you go through knocks like that, you've got your reputation has been dragged through the gutter. Your name's been dragged through the gutter. Who was you living with at the time in 2019? Was you married? Did you have kids?
I wasn't. No, I got divorced in 2015, 2016.
Can we talk about that? That was your first partner?
That was Billie Piper.
Billie Piper?
Yeah.
Singer?
Singer. Now actress.
Now actress.
And director.
Oh, is she? And when did you get with Billie Piper? How did you meet Billie Piper?
I met her on a play in 2007, and we hit it off quite quickly, quite suddenly, and then we got married very quickly.
How quickly?
6 months.
You got married in 6 months?
Yeah, I mean, it was, whatever happened.
But it's Billie Piper.
Yeah, I mean, it's all right, yes please. So, we did that, and then I think we both realised that we'd probably not picked Mr. and Mrs. Right.
For what reasons?
We don't agree on anything.
You don't agree on anything?
To this day, other than the fact that we love our kids.
It took you 6 months. The fact as soon as the honeymoon period was gone?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
When you say you don't agree on anything, do you mean politically? Do you mean...
Everything. There's nothing we agree about except that we love our kids a lot.
How many children do you have with Billie? 2
beautiful boys.
2 boys. Yeah. So you were with her for how many years? 8. So you didn't agree, but it took 8 years.
Well, I'm a bit of a old-fashioned
You need the mum and dad.
Christian type, Let's see if we can keep it going. But in the end, it just was not good. And we're still arguing to this day, which is quite funny. I actually find it quite sad, but we're still in the other insidious system, the family
court system.
Yeah, the beautifully anonymous family court system.
When you say anonymous, you mean because of the silence and gagging orders that people aren't allowed to talk about?
I've got prohibited steps orders on me from the family court.
You've got what?
Prohibited steps orders.
What's that mean?
Like things that I can't talk about that are unrelated to my kids and our divorce. Like, it's insane. I'm like.
And they get away with this in the family courts, like literally.
Family court, but I was with a mate yesterday, a mixed race girlfriend of mine, and she's got the same problem because they look at her and they go, "Oh, you must be like some little victim of some kind." So you know, and irresponsible, and we got to put the man's like the whole thing doesn't work. Like, I'm seen as the kind of Nazi, and she's seen as the victim. But we're both like the same. I mean, me and her, we're just friends. But it's like she has the same problem as I do. The secrecy of the family court is criminal. Actually, I mean, I can understand it if you've got kids getting abused. If you need court protection. But, you know, I uncovered that, well, I didn't uncover it, but I exposed it actually on my last week on GB News before they sacked me, of this girl, Sadiq Khans, who the NHS wanted to kill, you know, and they wanted to gag the family from saying her name so they couldn't raise any money for her to get some last minute treatment, and it was, you know, just so bad. And they
explain that. So the girl had an option of getting treatment that would keep her alive, and the NHS didn't want to do it.
She had a rare genetic disorder, but when I think rare genetic disorder, I think like, you know, sort of different looking face, or sort of a Down syndrome type thing, or like a little kid just attached to loads of, but she was a, you know, she was...
How old was she?
She was old, I think she was about 17, 18, 19, can't remember her exact age. And the NHS, the doctors said, no, it's just not worth keeping her alive. But she was like, but I want to live. Or at least I want to die. Her exact words were, I want to die trying to live. And they were like, no, we're going to force you into palliative care, whether you like it or not. And also, by the way, we're going to take your family to court so that you can't say her name and therefore raise some money to go to Canada, who were offering treatment to her. And in the end, she died before the court process was released. But I met with the family, and I said, we've got to get the story out, you know. And that there's with that case, there's other stuff going on with that case which no one will ever hear. And you know, you start to go, once you start,
Do you know how many girls I had come to me when I was leading the English Defence League to tell me they'd had their kids taken, and how many girls that would produce me stories just to say they've just took my kids, and then those girls would be saying it's a business to take the kids. So many people, but you couldn't report on it because they had all these orders.
Yeah.
Or even
It's a very, very
complex.
That's very dark. But I suppose once anyway, we sort of sidelined off, didn't we? What was I trying to say?
It's about the family courts.
Yeah, the family court. Well, look, I don't think...
Do you mind if I ask what you end up in court with Billy for with the kids?
I'm not allowed to say prohibited steps orders of stuff, but you know, we just disagree about stuff. So
do you get to see your children?
Yeah, I see them 50% of my time, but it's almost bankrupted me to do that. So I see the family court as £100,000 a year tax that I have to pay to see my kids. That's how I deal with the family court.
You see it as a tax, so it costs you £100,000 a year fighting through the family court for the lawyers.
On a bad year, yeah.
On a bad year.
It's like, it's broken me financially, yeah. Just to see my sons. And also
Do you think fathers get equal rights?
No. I think fathers in the modern world are treated like passengers in their children's lives, and the state wants to be the parent, and the state trusts the mother regardless of what the mother says. I think it's the most... this is why one of the reasons why I get super pissed off when people start talking about the patriarchy. Because I'm like, that patriarchy works for you, sweetheart. It works really well.
I've seen lots of my friends go through this.
Lots of men go through it. Lots of men top themselves for it. It's dreadful. It's really expensive. Judges aren't... the last judge who I had, usually when you go into family court, the lawyers are like, just look face forward, don't look at their side or any of that stuff, and don't say anything. And when the judge said one of the things, it was so unbelievably ridiculous, and she said, I went, really?
You did?
Really? And from that moment, she was just like, so... Yeah, I left the family court with a few choice words for...
So you get divorced in 2016?
Yeah.
This happens in 2019.
2020 was question time, and then I started the party end of 2020, ran for the mayor 2021, And, you know, I just sort of, we run campaigns now. We're starting up, we're about to do a judicial review in schools to stop them teaching kids about the gender stuff as like fact, and stop social transitioning and political indoctrination of kids in schools, because that's another generation messed up that's going to happen now. So I do that sort of thing. I have a legal thing called the Bad Law Project, and we go...
You're fighting it on those, aren't you?
Fight it, but at the end of the day, I had this moment the other day when I woke up after my judgment on there, when the judge decided she's not even going to define what the meaning of the word racist is, because I've suffered no serious harm by being called one. And I'm like, so I was earning, you know, between...
Let's go through that so that people understand.
Yeah.
So they've called you a racist. 3 celebrities have called you a racist.
Yeah.
You've equivalently said, well, if I'm a racist, you're a paedophile. In other words, you've got no evidence of that. I've got no evidence of this. That's the way you said it. If you're a racist, I'm a paedophile. They've then took you to the High Court and sued you.
Yeah,
for
and I
defamation,
countersued
and you've
them.
countersued them. And what's happened? And do you remember I spoke to you before the case?
Yeah.
I saw, because I said you sounded hopeful.
I know.
And I tried to tell you.
Oh, I know, mate. I know.
I said, no.
But you've got to get there yourself. Like,
Yeah, you've got to see it
It's like
yourself.
addiction. You
Because Katie Hopkins told me, when I faced the court case, I rang Katie Hopkins, I said, Katie, she said, Tommy, listen to me, yeah? They can do what they want. You need to understand. Do you know in her case, her new husband had money in his bank from his previous divorce. They took her new husband's money. Yeah?
Well, Jack Monroe, who she did it, orchestrated these people suing me. So Jack Monroe was involved. Anyway,
go on. So
they sued me. I said, fine. I said, we can down tools and just agree a statement saying we don't like racism. None of us like racism. And then so they said no. So I countersued them. The meanings hearing, which is just one judge, I was like, well, first of all, I was like, well, we'll get a jury. Even in London, I fancy myself with the jury. And they're going like, no, we're not, you won't be getting a jury. I'm like, what do you mean? And like, that's justice, isn't it? 12 of your peers. I even fancied myself with the London jury. No jury. I'm like, hang on. Meanings hearing, judge decides that racism's always an opinion. They won't define what the meaning of the word is, so I can't really be harmed, because it's always an opinion. So it's not defamatory in law. And then, but me calling him paedophile, definitely really bad. We appeal that, and they turn around and they go to one of the girls, to the girl, Nicola Thorpe. They go, I was obviously being rhetorical. They threw her one out, but the other 2 stayed on, even though it was the same response. And I'm like, this doesn't seem to work. Anyway, trial, 8 days, in front of a judge who sat there, and we've got a judgment which I respectfully disagree with. So we'll appeal it, and I'll either walk out that appeal feeling, I've got a fairly solid view of what's going to happen with the appeal, but I felt really free. I felt really depressed about it for about 2 months, and then it wasn't too long ago, like a week and a half ago, I just woke up in the middle of the night and I went, the whole thing's a mirage, man. Everything you see around you is fake, and it's constructed.
And how much did they order you to pay?
Hasn't been done yet. Remedy's hearing next month.
How much is it looking?
1 point something.
£1.7 million. So they've called you racist, you've called them paedophile, but you've got to pay £1 million.
Yeah, and they didn't pay a penny to even bring the case in the first place.
So I understand the people. This is so the same.
Oh no.
The people who brought the case against you would have done it for no win, no fee. Yeah. So they're all working for free because they politically don't like you.
Yeah.
And then when they win, they get double the money because they took it on for no win, no fee. Yeah. That's exactly what happened to Katie Hopkins, and it's exactly what happened to me. Yeah. So people are looking at your politics and thinking, how can we do him? Yeah. We'll all work to hammer him, and we'll hope the judge. Tell me then, so that, because I'm, like, you said you felt pretty depressed. I don't think anyone can quite understand what it's like to go through. In fact, I've been through court cases. There's not one period I haven't had since 2009 where I've not been away in a prison. I'd rather go to prison than what I went through at that High Court.
Really?
Because it was the aspect of they want to take my children's home, they want to ruin my family, they want to do all this. But coming out of a weak trial like that, coming out of the family courts, losing your career, losing your job, that's a very different place you was a few years before.
I know.
When all of this is going on, so that people understand, how do you deal with that? How did you deal with that? And looking back at it now, how is it? So because I think whenever I see people And that's what I spoke to you the week before. Yeah. I know how it is, and I know what I went through, and I know I was in some dark places.
It's not possible to explain to people what it feels like. It's like someone who's not had a kid who then has a kid. And also I don't believe that it's good to show them how upset you are about it, because I think that they like it. These people, it's like I always say to my mates who've done something wrong and someone's trying to force them to say sorry. You know, in the workplace, they've said the wrong thing or whatever, you know, in this constant stupid world. I've got a mate who works for BT at the moment, and he's being BT monitor all internal communications. And they've got a hacker who goes through all of their internal communications, and they found out like 2 pieces of cultural offence. And he's like, I'm going to lose my job. I've worked at BT for 12 years. I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to say sorry. I said, don't say sorry to these people, because they want to get you. They're going to kill you. So look at them dead in the eye while they're trying to do it, and then think about ways of getting them back. So, I mean, look, it's destroyed my life on a practical level, but I've got 2 amazing kids. I've got a missus now who is sound and very, very strong.
American girl?
She's American, yeah, half American, half English.
Okay.
And she's super sound, and she's got my back, and I got her back. And, you know, these are the things you need in life. It's like, I haven't paid for a taxi ride for quite a long time.
So when you say, because the black cabs don't charge you, it's the same.
A lot of people, you know, and a lot of people, the other day I walked out of my office and I was trying to get a black cab, and a white van goes past and goes, where are you going, Loz? And I went, Stockwell. And he's like, I'll get in, I'll take you. So did that part of it, the freedom, you've got to weigh up the freedom versus the fact that they're after you. And the thing that the most profound effect it's had on me is the fact that I don't feel safe.
Explain what that's like. Explain what that's like, and explain who you don't feel safe from. I want to get onto the video I saw where the police are ransacking your house as well. So, who don't you feel safe from?
I don't feel safe from the police, and I don't trust the police at all.
Isn't it mental? Because it's not like you're talking about issues. You're not worried about someone in the street coming up to you.
Well, to be fair, after the judgment, a guy did come up to me in the street, and it's very rare, but it does happen. A guy did come up to me in the street and he said, I'm going to kill you, you racist, see you next Tuesday.
They've been radicalised by the media.
Because it's the media political complex, isn't it? That's the way it works. I do think it just takes one
lunatic.
Yeah.
One lunatic who thinks he's making the world a better place.
Yeah.
He actually believes the hype that you're this bad person, which is why they build people like us up.
Yeah.
So that they don't have to do the dirty work, someone else will.
Yeah,
but why do you fear the police? In what way?
Well, the police are... I was very vocal about lockdown. I was straight out on the streets over lockdown, and I campaigned to be the mayor on stopping the lockdown, and I was telling people all the time what a mess lockdown was, and I was publicly advertising the fact that I was having the biggest party I could organise every single weekend, and doing that to the lockdown-aholics.
Which someone needed to do.
Yeah.
Which people should have done, yeah.
And that they didn't like that, so they'd come around my house a lot. So the intimidation started then. I'd have really weird experiences, like driving my son to school, and I'd just get in the car and just pull out the car, and suddenly a police car would come in. And they go, why is he not wearing that right? And I go, we're literally just leaving we're 2 meters out onto the road. Get your seatbelt on, get out, you get out, don't talk to me, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So the slow intimidation, and then you get the more hardcore intimidation, don't you? You know what it's like. You've got level 10 of...
Yeah, but some people justify what's happened to me because of my background, but you have a very different background, which is why it's important that people understand.
No, it happened to anybody. I mean, if you think you're safe from the police, if you think that... I say to my kids, if you're in trouble, the last person you should go to is a police officer.
What sad state of affairs, though?
Yeah.
To have to say that.
Yeah. Well, they're an ideological police force. They're totally captured. When I went to the mayor, you get to meet the chief constable, the head of the mayor, whoever it is. I didn't meet him. I met one of the operational people who was high up at the Charing Cross police station, which I've been in before, for punching a paparazzo. So I had been in trouble with the law. I punched a paparazzi.
Yeah, but that's all right.
Yeah, because, you know.
No, go on, what for?
For punching, literally knocking out a guy. I had a motorbike, and when I was with Billy, and we would leave the theatre and all the, and it was like in your face, and at night, and you know what it's like, you got 50 flashes in your face, and I nearly got run over by a taxi. And I said to the guys next night, look, can you not do flashing while we're leaving on the motorbike, because I can't see and I'm going to get hit by a car.
And it's dangerous, I've got my missus on the back.
Yeah, and this guy did, so I got off and decked him.
Okay.
And then I was taken to the police station for that.
Okay.
So
what year was that?
Just before we got married, so like 2006.
Okay.
And then, so then I went to Shanklin Police Station, and I said to him, you know, I was talking to him, and he said, are you an anti-racist organisation? He went, we're a proudly anti-racist organisation. And I'm like, whoa, this is bad. The police are bad. And, you know, then they...
Why is that bad?
Because anti-racism is racism. It's just got the word anti in front of it. The problem with anti-racism is it's like anything that these ideological communist bastards do, is that they take control of the language. So by saying anti-racist, what they're doing is they're saying there's an opposite to that, which is you're a racist if you're not an anti-racist. Yeah. Whereas in England, you're just not a racist. That's how it's been. And Prince William, bless him, I mean, he's a bit woke, but he was good to say, I am not racist, when asked about, like, is the royal family racist and stuff like that. So it's entrenched the whole idea of division within the police, and the fact that it's a two-tiered society, two-tiered policing. I was in amongst many scuffles in lockdown marches, watching people getting coshed and kettled and beaten.
Had you seen things like that before?
No.
No, because if you've gone to football...
At football I had, yeah.
Which for some reason football fans are allowed to be treated like that.
Yeah, well, they want to get rid of football fans, don't they? Full stop, football.
But so you've gone on anti-lockdown protests where people are coming out to protest, which is their right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. What did you witness during that? The police?
A lot of kettling and a lot of violence. You know,
violence from
the cops,
from the police.
To people who were like, they're like hippies, man. Those lockdown marches were not troublemakers. No. They were hippies. They're people going, I just want to be free. So saw that, and then, you know, I've been walking around London filming these Hamas sort of death cult protest things that they're doing, and I'm walking around with my missus filming it and going, and there's people saying the most horrendous stuff, and I'm saying to the cops, why aren't you doing anything? And they just ignore you. They won't even look in your face. So you're like, they're allowing it to happen. So what Lee Anderson said about Islamists and Sadiq Khan, it might not be technically accurate, but it's definitely more accurate than not, because Sadiq Khan is the de facto Police and Crime Commissioner of London. He gets to decide how things are policed, and we've got these people walking through the streets of London saying what they're saying at the moment, which I do like free speech, so I kind of want people, but this is not free speech. This is hate.
They're calling for the gassing of Jews.
They're calling for it's jihad. Incitement to violence, isn't it?
Calling for jihad.
So that, and he doesn't do anything about it. And he purposely doesn't do anything about it. I think that he doesn't
even comment on it.
No, he's a little leftist. I mean, he's such a nasty little ideological. That's why the mayor needs to go as a position.
I met him in 2015.
Did you?
I come out of my prison cell, HMP Winchester. He was standing there.
Why?
Yeah. So he must have been in charge of Labour's prison, like wherever that position within the Labour Party is. He was walking around the prison, and I'd just left the English Defence League, and in the conversation, he come up and spoke to me, and he explained that Majid Nawaz, because Majid, when he was younger, was in Hisbat Tahrir, prescribed terrorist organisation now. Yeah. Majid done time in jail for terrorism in Egypt. And he came up to me and said that, because I'd left the English Defence League with Majid, and he said that he was best friends with Majid for his university days. And I sat there and I thought, well, Majid was a radical jihadist during his university days. So you must be a radical, you must have, to be his best friend, but that's the only time I've met Sadiq Khan. But I've watched what he's done to London.
Yeah, he's destroyed our city, our beautiful city. So that, my view is that position needs to go, position of Mayor of London.
The entire position?
Yeah, I think we need to drastically reduce any extra layer of government. We just don't need it.
Civil service?
Civil service, I mean, look.
Abolish it?
Yeah. Get rid of everything. And there shouldn't be people who aren't elected making decisions in this country.
And we've heard now from Liz Truss, in Liz Truss's conversation.
Yeah, she's talking about the deep state.
She had no power.
Yeah, she did, but look what they did to her.
Had no power, yeah.
The minute you open your mouth and say it, you're gone. We are at the, you look at, obviously I keep my eye on America, because America's, what happens there is going to happen here. And we are facing something pretty, unprecedented since the Second World War, certainly.
What's the reaction, again, I'd just like to know the reaction, as all this is going on, as your world's sort of collapsing around you, court cases are pinging up, threats, everyone's calling you a racist, all these things. What's the reaction of your mum and dad, if you don't mind me asking? And again, I only ask these questions because I know what my mum and dad's, I know how they felt about these times. So what was mum and dad's opinion?
Well, my mum died in the first lockdown in April 2020, and that's where some of my pure rage came from, because of the lack of dignity that she was treated with, especially her funeral and stuff like that, and while they're all getting langered in
so your mum died during the COVID, so tell me about her. So her funeral conditions would have been what?
5 people stood
separated,
6 feet apart, and couldn't even get in touch with my dad, who stood by the coffin by himself. They had to get the coffin in the ground because of COVID regulations, little bastards. It's all about power. And in the end, the saddest part is her mates, who are old now, because she was 79, her mates are in their 80s now, early 80s, and they just like, I never got to say goodbye, I never got a memorial, never got anything, I never got to say goodbye. Like, one minute I was speaking to her and we were hanging around, and the next minute she was gone, and there's a reason why human beings have these ceremonies, because they draw lines under things, don't they? And I think that's what really sad.
Do you think that's what drove you more so on the
I knew immediately from the minute I got a phone call.
But that would be angry if that's gone on. Like,
the journalist that I was going out with at that time phoned me up before any of it had come out in England and said, there is a deadly killer virus coming. We've just been briefed by the government. There's a deadly killer virus coming. It's going to kill between 500,000 and 1 million British people. And I went, bollocks. And she went, what do you mean bollocks? And I went, look, you see those things flying around? They would not be flying around if there was a deadly virus coming.
Because all the borders were open, the planes were open, even from China. The British government didn't shut the border from China.
Because it wasn't a pandemic. It was not, as my brother, who was pretty sound, said, he went, look at the deaths before, look at the deaths after, draw a line between the middle.
There's been no pandemic.
There's no pandemic that's happened. And so that radicalised me in my hatred of what happens when you give thick people power and control over you, and also made me terrified about how compliant people are and how lacking in critical thinking skills. People lose their critical thinking skills when they're frightened, And also I would have had exactly the same reaction if it was an 80% virus. I would have gone, well, 80% of us are going to get it and die then, aren't we? So, still, we shouldn't just stop living. We should be careful, but
you should be given the option to decide yourself.
Freedom, and that was that. And my dad is, I think it's been hard on my dad.
So in the middle of all that's okay. So in the middle of all of this, your mother's passed as well.
I know, yeah.
That's another thing.
I know.
So you've gone from, I think. Do you think people understand any of what's gone on? Do you think when they see you on the news or they see you in the TV, do you think a lot of people know what's going on behind closed doors, the pressure it brings, the heartache that's going on? Do you think they get it?
I don't think they can ever get it, and I don't think they should ever get it, because you know how horrible it is. And
I just sat down with because I've just done Katie Hopkins. I've never heard her talk about it. I moan a lot. I feel sorry for myself quite a lot.
I do too.
I've never heard her talk about it.
Really?
And I went through her life and I was like, Jesus Christ, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
I just have that kind of don't let the bastards win attitude, and I don't want to use my platform to say how bad it's been for me. I'd rather say to people what they're doing to me, they've done to you, they will do to you. Because they take people like us and they try it out on us, and they see if the public will accept it. And the first thing that they do is they destroy you in the media. Now, I don't read any of mainstream media about myself, but I'm fairly confident if you Google me, it'll go fascist, whatever. I'm fairly confident that's what it is.
It does.
And the media political class are relying on this to drag us all down into the bug-eating future that they want, the hopeless, godless, death cult future, and I'm not buying into it. So my point is, I don't want them to know how much they've hurt me. I don't want them to know.
But what makes you, if I just ask, because most people would have stopped at the first instant of being cancelled, let alone continued, then with the lockdowns, to then go on protest, to then go against you, we'll get onto Ulez. What makes you that person that has just said, no, I'm not apologising? No. What do you think? Is it something, does you think that's something installed in you from your father, in your upbringing? What makes you the person that don't want to back down?
Because there are many of us. But I am, I'm like you, there's a target on me. So you speak for many people. A lot of people who come up to me, and I'm sure a lot of people who come up to you, do so very emotionally.
Yeah, they're emotionally attached because they feel that what's happened to you.
They're emotional about, they're telling you really deep stuff about themselves and what's happened to them. And you go, I've actually got this platform, I'll use it properly. And also I think one of the good things in Britain is courage. So we can't get rid of, they can get rid of it, all of our culture, which they're trying to do now, and spit and demean and denigrate every great thing that this brilliant country has done. They can do that all they want, but if they can't take someone's courage away from them. And they don't have any power over me anymore.
Where does your courage come from? Does it come from fear?
Does courage come from fear?
I think it does for me. I think I'm scared of things, and that's why I just. But that's a deep question. Does courage come from fear? Do you fear? Do you fear for your boys? Your boys? Do you fear for your country? Do you fear for yourself? Do you have fear for your relationship?
I fear for my. I don't feel safe. It's a strange sensation. I just walk out the house and I'm like, I have that. I'm always looking over my back. I'm always just checking out my surroundings. I don't feel safe.
When you go into a restaurant, where do you sit?
I sit
back to the wall.
Yeah, I do sit right back to the wall. I don't go to many restaurants. They've managed to get me I'm inside much more than I used to be. I can't go on the tube in rush hour. I try to make sure I walk more and get out on the streets. And it is good to be out on the streets because you meet people that are really, really grateful. But it is important that the things that I believe in, they don't impinge on anyone else's life. I'm not trying to go, you need to do this so that I can feel good. I'm not into active rights like that. I'm into passive rights. Like, we should all have the right to make up our minds what we need to do. As long as it doesn't harm anybody else, it's fine. And so what they tried with the pandemic, this whole idea like you're killing granny, you weren't. You're killing men between 18 and 35. That's what you were doing in the pandemic, and you were killing granny from loneliness, and you were destroying children's lives. You weren't saving anybody. You lot, with your fear, were killing people. And that's the narrative that's never told. I mean, it is told now because we've finally got a platform where we can talk about it. But
did they make you have? Did you have the vaccine then?
No.
Why?
I mean, that was just. But I didn't. I'm not anti-vaccine. I am now.
Yeah. So
if me and my missus have a baby, say we did,
no vaccines.
I don't think I'd give them a single one. I'm like, when was the last time you heard someone go, "How's the rubella?"
Again, a sad state though, because now you can't trust anything they say.
Yeah, and they overstep. So what they've got to do is they've got to drag you all down. That's what they've got to do. You've got to completely disown your country and convince people. They're bringing in a totally uncontrolled. I just saw the figures yesterday. We've got another another 100,000 a quarter than we had last year.
Another 100,000.
So it was 250,000, 250 in the first. It's not first. Yeah, it is first quarter, March. Yeah. It's another 100,000. It's 300 and something thousand we've had already this year. They're bringing in military-age men into our country. That's what they're doing. And why would they do that?
With no checks.
With no checks at all. But there was a period in 2020 and between 2021 where you can go for a restaurant without providing a papers, please. It's unbearable. And the Conservatives are in on it. And all the established parties are in on it, including Reform. So that the whole political establishment class is either...
Why do you think they're in it? Because if you look at the Conservative Party, you look at Serco get the contracts for a lot of these new migrants, and the owners of Serco are very close or connected to the highest Tories. Do you think they're in it just for profit? Do you think they're ideologically in it? Why would these people who are British want our borders open to millions of people who we don't know who they are from cultures that are not going to work?
Because they'll vote for what they're offered.
So you think they're bringing in loyal votes? Or, yeah.
Yeah.
But even the Tories, are these people?
The Tories are the same as Labour. They're no different. The Tories we've sat with 14 years of Tory government. What have we got?
Yeah, everything they promised have done the opposite. Probably more people they brought in than Labour brought in.
Yeah. Every single election since '97, we've been told they're going to lower immigration, and the Tories post-Brexit have a record immigration. Now, I've got not a problem with immigration actually, if it's normal and it's controlled, and you go, my name is Dr. Pete whatever, and here's my passport. But I do have a major problem with paying taxes. Well, actually, it's not entirely taxpayer funded, but I do have a major problem with like our lifeboat service picking up people and giving them a lift.
Bringing them in.
Giving them a
So
lift.
they're protecting the borders, they're opening them. Tell me, you just mentioned reform. Some people will be shocked because there's a lot of people now relying on reform.
Yeah.
A lot of people are thinking reform are the solution, and I've made comments and people, well, who are we meant to vote for then? Yeah.
There is no. It's not there will be no. There's no electoral solution to this problem. That is 100% sure. There is a cultural solution to this problem, which is a mass movement of people.
Elaborate on that, please.
Which
so
will
people
happen.
understand what you're.
Well, look at reform, right?
Yep.
What is reform's policy on immigration?
One in, one out. So if half a million British decide to leave because their town's being overtaken, they'll bring 500,000 in from Africa.
That good? That sound like a good immigration
Not
policy?
at all, no.
Right.
But do people realise that?
Well, I don't know. My point is...
We know that. We've looked
my point here is that there is a political media establishment, right? So I just observe trends. I look at it and I go, okay, they've been let in the...
Reform, because they've been promoted.
I mean,
by the
it's just
mainstream
written
media.
relentless puff pieces about these people. They don't want to work with anyone else, so he doesn't want to work. Farage doesn't even work with, Farage hasn't even joined his own party, has he, really?
No, he's just pushed it.
Yeah, and then I just think they're just controlled opposition. That's what I think they are. I think they go, oh, look, the people are a bit stressed out, we should give them
Is Tice establishment?
Tice is I don't dislike Richard as a person. Okay. I think he's a nice guy, but he's...
Was it Matt Hancock's book launch, was he? Yeah. If I remember rightly?
Yeah. They're all establishment, these people.
Okay.
They're not, you can tell everything you need to know about somebody and their belief system and how honest they are by how interested they are, A, in power, and B, what it costs them to get to where they are in their life. And if people have suffered, they tend to be much more genuine, and I tend to like people more who've suffered. When people pop up and go, I'm going to start a political party, I'm like, what are your policies? And it's
the media who attack everyone else just literally have gone like that.
Yeah.
Like he's watching it and they're not even getting a hard time.
Yeah, they're not getting a hard time. No one cross-examines them. They're part of the establishment now. I don't think you can vote for these people. I think what will happen is what will happen in America, which is it will take a Trump-type figure to go, and people trust, whatever your criticisms of Trump are, he's not a politician at all.
Which is why people like him.
And he's a man of the people, because he's not some sort of Harvard-educated, uses big words like whatever, he just gets his point across. I think that given the choice, we've got to go through a Labour government, which we're going to go through anyway, because also, why would you start a political party to fight the Tories, make sure that you give Labour another 100 extra seats so that anything they want to do, the Race Equality Act, so that they can do, and then turn around and give the Tories the excuse of someone to blame? They're going, it was Reform's fault. It doesn't make sense to me. And things that don't make sense to me smell to me. If it's not logical, it doesn't make sense, it smells. And Labour are going to make diversity, equity and inclusion in law.
Which means, what does that, diversity?
Diversity, equity and inclusion is...
DEI, we hear a lot about it now, but what does that mean?
Well, it's a sort of modern iteration of affirmative action. So it is the enforced racial quotas, the diversity is an enforced racial quota in anything. So say in my old business, show business, BAFTA said, right, we're going to have 50% BAME or whatever. But I don't know what the new acronym is.
Are they going to enforce that in taxi ranks, like in Luton?
Yeah.
Where every taxi rank is a Pakistani Muslim, are they going to say, no, you need some white drivers?
Yeah, they're going to enforce it in the England football team.
That's what I mean. Are they going to say, well, you need more white players?
No, it's like that footballer yesterday, that woman footballer, who turned around and said, you nasty white bastard or something to somebody. And the Chelsea is standing by her. It's a very difficult time for her. It's like, I'm sick of living in this. So
it's reversing the roles.
The diversity is just cut for no white people. That's what diversity means. Equity is killing and the death of a meritocracy. So that's the end of anyone being good at something getting promoted. It means that you're going to get people with no talent and ability being promoted to quite high positions.
We lower the level of qualification to get into the military.
Just drag everybody down rather than lift everybody up, which is the idea of meritocratic capitalism. And then inclusion means no white people. It's like you've got to include, and then you've got to start.
And Labour are going to make this part of their main policy.
Race Equality Act, yeah, it's coming.
They're make it.
It's going to be the first thing they do. Annalise Dodds says it's going to be the front and centre of what Labour do. So Keir Starmer's doing a Joe Biden. You know, Joe Biden sat in 2020, and he just pretended he was going to be like, you know, a nice kind of sort of centre-left guy. But it's like Blair as well. You know, everyone thought, oh, Tony Blair's quite charismatic, but he didn't realise he'd utterly destroy our country in that, you know, with long-term planning. And Keir Starmer's going to do the same. Nasty little ideologues.
When you say there's no answer politically, but you say there is culturally, what do you mean by that?
Well, what this country needs is brave people to start standing up, which they will, because they're going to get sick of going, right, okay, so now there's a Muslim war memorial, is there? Are we allowed to get...
ask what you thought.
Are we allowed to get up on that and start draping Union Jacks on it? And
we'll all be in jail straight away.
And start going, God save the Queen, and throwing it onto... Are we going to be allowed to do that, are we? It's so divisive for a government to do that. We've got a cenotaph, and that celebrates those Muslim soldiers who died for us too. And we honour them in exactly the same way as we honour anyone else who gave their lives for this country. But that
it's
twat...
It's divisive.
It's deliberate.
Why?
Because our country is suffering the biggest demographic shift in history. The population of this country has gone up from 59 million to 71 million or something like that since 1997, right? What the British population is replacing itself at 1.6. That's not even replacement levels. 2.1 is replacing. Where's those 11 million people come from? And we're told Britain is only 6%.
Double it at least.
It's like, look, I've got no, I think it works both ways with the media. The media will amplify, you know, the worst aspects of Muslim extremism. And I think there are, you know, there are Muslims who are much more sort of secular and ethical who just, you know, aren't involved. And I have a lot of contact with Muslims who really like some of the stuff I say about education, children, family and stuff like that. So I think there are some really sound Muslims in this world, but we are facing a country which is, who leads in movements? It's always the most
extreme.
Yeah. So we're going to be looking at a country which is going to be, for better or worse, I mean, half of me would prefer Ramadan to LGBTQ History Month. Do you know what I mean? So part of me is like, well, at least they believe in something and they take themselves seriously. But the utter capitulation of Britain and its own values to the fact the Chancellor of the Exchequer thinks you can stand up in a budget and say, I'm going to give £1 million.
He didn't just say it in the budget, it was the first thing he said. It was his first opening line.
But that guy is just like, you know where he belongs? He belongs like wandering in a really old, faded department store up and down the suit aisle going, can I help you, sir? That's the level of talent and ingenuity and brain that Jeremy Hunt has. He's a complete, I mean, he's smart enough to realise that if he divides the people, I'm saying where I think the real political change will come is when it gets right in your face, which it is started to do in London. People are going, I've got Jewish friends leaving London, and I think there will be a sudden, and it will just be like, nope, enough, and the battle lines will be drawn. But that's what they want, which is the worst part of it. That's not when I say they, I don't mean Muslims, I mean the establishment. They want to drive us into
so they can bring in more law and order.
Yeah.
More rights, take away more freedom.
Stop the hate marches. And it's like, no, let the hate marches take place, just police them properly.
Yeah, because if you stop that, because then they'll use the excuse of stopping them to stop us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we ultimately, as I said, you know, none of us really believe in, I don't mind what religion you are, particularly. I don't want you raping young girls. I really don't want that. I don't want you raping young girls, and I want to know whether you think that British law trumps Sharia law, and I want to know the answer to those questions. And if the answer to those questions is Sharia law trumps British law, then I've got a problem with
There's
you.
40%. That's 40% of British Muslims want Sharia law over British law.
Yeah. Well, I've got a problem with that.
Yeah, that's 2 million Muslims.
Yeah.
That's a large number and growing.
Yeah.
What about the LGBT flag?
Burn the bastard.
I was about to say you burned it, yeah?
I'll be burning it again.
You'll be burning it again?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Can you, because some people who just see someone burning a flag like that,
Yeah.
I'd say it might make it easy for people to throw the hate figure and these sort of things, but can you explain why you decide to burn the LGBT flag?
Yeah, I've got no problem with, and I actually have sympathy for gay and lesbian people back in the day, back in the time, in the 70s, 60s, 70s, when it was 50s, 60s, 70s,
Yep.
when it was, when it was really hard to be openly gay. I mean, they chemically castrated Alan Turing, didn't they? This country has not got a great record on acceptance of people who are gay and lesbian. We really do now. We're really, really, really brilliant and tolerant towards gay and lesbian people now. Hence why they had to invent the T, because, the vested interests of gay and lesbian people like Stonewall ran out, they did their job, so they had to invent a new problem to cause, which was the T. Anyway, we'll get to that. I can see why there would be a pub, we'll stick a rainbow flag in there, so if a gay person walks past, the Admiral Duncan and stuff like that in Soho, and they bombed it, didn't they? So I can see the need for a little symbol that goes, you're safe in here, mate. You're gay or you're lesbian. That's cool. But then it's stopped being that now. It's a political flag. And it's the flag of revolution, actually. It's a revolutionary flag that is being flown on the streets of our city. Because you've got a black chevron, which is Black Lives Matter. That is, by its very nature, a Marxist political movement. It's got nothing to do with black people, other than getting a couple of...
Well, its main point is to destroy capitalism, end the nuclear family.
Yeah, and make a load of people, it's a race-baiting Ponzi scheme.
Yeah. So
what's that got to do? What's that got to do with sexuality? Nothing. BLM. What's it got to do with sexuality? Nothing. The next chevron along is brown, which just is for everyone who's brown. It's like, what's that got to do with sexuality? It's about skin colour. It's got nothing to do with whether you're gay or lesbian. And then the next one is the one that I really don't like, which is trans, which is asking you as a human being to completely lie to yourself 100%. We've seen it with Jonathan Willoughby. It's like, I am legally a woman. I don't care if you're legally a woman, mate. You're a mate, you're a bloke. I will happily call you India. I mean, I wouldn't with that one particularly because he's a spiteful little sod. But, if you meet people who are nice...
She wants J.K. Rowling arrested.
She wants her arrested,
her arrested for saying that she's a man when she's a man.
Yeah, she is a man. You are a man, Jonathan.
She's a man. She's a man. What mad saying?
Yeah.
She's a man.
I'm
even buying into it. Look.
Did you see the Byline Times though? He tried to interview her and then he kept saying...
He misgendered her twice. Caleb misgendered her twice.
Do you know what I mean? Misgendered.
Misgendered, which is exactly...
These are speech codes. So the trans thing, and I hate the fact that they are trying this death cult on children. It's like, you're going to turn around to a child behind its parents' back at school, socially transition this kid. You're then going to inject that kid with a load of what they call puberty blockers, but are actually castration drugs that completely destroy your fertility, stop your sexual organs growing. And then once you really mess with their heads, you then chop off their bits and send them on their way.
Kaylin, who interviewed Miss India, whatever. Yeah. His boyfriend, was given puberty blockers at school and given hormonal treatment, and he transitioned into a girl. Yeah, because he used to work for me. He was my cameraman.
Was he?
Yeah. They made him into a girl. When he got to 16, after having, and now every morning he has to rap, because he's started developing boobs. He has to rap. He's got cut like women-shaped legs. He has to wrap himself every morning. When he got 16, he just realised he's gay.
Yeah, that's it.
And by that point, they've fucked him. He's totally fucked. I mean, every morning he wears this thing wrapped around his whole body out of embarrassment because he's changed shape of his body that they done to him as a child.
Because it's homophobic.
Child.
So on the flag that was meant to represent a safe place for gay and lesbian people, you've got a part of that flag which goes, you ain't gay, you're just born in the wrong body.
Which is confusing. How old are your kids?
15 and 12, but fortunately my kids, as you can imagine,
they know what they are.
Oh my lord.
But in their school, what's it like?
My youngest son's school is like all these upper middle class celebrity schools where the kids are going to grow up and get nice jobs in places. There's trans kids in the school.
There's gangs of them in my son's school, whole groups of them.
Yeah.
But they're all autistic and they're all self-harming.
Yeah.
So they've all got issues.
Yeah.
And then they're transgendering and they're getting extra attention.
It's thalidomide. The people that are allowing it to happen, including the teachers, belong in jail, and it should be. You can't. I think who came up with the idea, which was really good. They said you should make it illegal to perform the operation. To give to drugs. So it's the doctor
who's in trouble.
Who's in trouble, not the parents, because parents are strange, and we all make mistakes as parents. But my kids are. Like, I've properly explained to my kids, but to the point where my little son said to me on Sunday, my eldest son was like, I think Mum wants to go live in America, and I might go as well. And I'm like, oh, nice. Well, it's your life. You've got to do what you want. And I said to my little son, what do you reckon? He went, I'm not going to that shithole. So that's why I burnt the flag, and I will burn it again.
Do you think when you burnt the flag, do you think people got the message of why you burnt the flag?
No, because the message is not going to be told. There's no point in me explaining it in a calm and rational way.
Because when we had the English Defence League, we used to actually fly the gay flag. Yeah? And I remember when I went to Poland, and in Poland, they made this massive rainbow flag, and the Polish kept burning it down. Every time it went up in the city centre, they come and set fire to it. Every time. Yeah? So they couldn't put it up anymore. And when I was speaking to Polish, I said, don't you think that's a bit over the top, lads? This was 2012, 13. I said, it's just about, I'd separate the LGB from the T, yeah? I said, don't you think that's a bit over the top if they just want to be gay? And they said to me, that flag has nothing to do with being gay. That is an ideology that's going to destroy our society. And everything that this Polish gentleman said, about where it was going, I've sat and seen it now, where they've changed the flag to include non-binary, to include transgenderism, to include black lives. I sat there and thought, Jesus, he was right.
And the plus.
So minor attracted children, minor attracted people.
That's what does society do when it's falling apart and it's coming to the very ends of itself? It's that's what it does. It turns around, it starts to have sexual relations with its own kids.
Do you separate LGB to T?
Yeah, 100%. I think I've got gay and lesbian friends, and they would be told that they were maybe not gay or lesbian. They were.
How important do you think it is that the public, or that the gay community, the gay and lesbian community, really speak out on this? Because I
got attacked at Pride. So I went to film at Pride, right? Which is basically just
Pride's a month now, is it?
Yeah,
a month.
But also it's like, the main Pride Day, and it was the most
fetish men dressed.
No, it wasn't. It was corporate bollocks. It was just like Nat West van driving past with loads of people with like rainbow cheap face paint, and then it was like Coke one and Santander, and it was so corporate and bollocks. And then some sort of woke, miserable woman starts screaming at me. I've interviewed a few people, they're really nice, they say I totally disagree with everything you think about everything, and I go, well, we can still chat about it. And then I'm walking back, and this little woke woman, who I don't even think was a lesbian, I think she was just sort of, like you say, it's a revolutionary flag.
Lost.
She started having a real scream at me, and straight away, I'm not saying anything, she's like screaming in my face, the police are like, you've got to move on. I'm like, no I don't, this is ask her to move on. She's the one screaming in my face, and they're like, yeah, but you're making her feel uncomfortable. I went, I'm not saying anything.
Your presence.
To her. She said, yeah, you're present. So then suddenly, in barge, two gay guys from Manchester, and they go, I saw it all. He's done I'm not even going to bother.
They probably fancied you, Laurence.
Yeah, but he's like, and these people have ruined Pride for us. They ruined it for us. It used to be like a celebration of being gay and free and having a laugh, and now it's just about how angry everyone is. And so I think people get it. I've got a gay friend who was like, honey, why did you burn down the Pride flag? It's so stupid. And I was like, he said, that's my flag. And I went, do you know what that flag means? And he's like, no, it's like gay. And I went, no, do you know what it means? So I talked him through the chevrons. He went, oh, fuck that.
Burn it.
But look, we're going to get presented in the worst possible way anyway, right? So the key is not to lie back. My name is going to be mud to the establishment class till the day I die.
Who cares?
I don't care about them.
No, that's it.
But what you can do is you can goad them. You can make them make you more popular with the people that understand what you're doing. Because people aren't stupid. People don't take bad takes on it. Some people do, but your average person knows, I know exactly what that flag means. Anyone who's opposed to it should know why they're
they're fed up
opposed
of
to it.
having it shoved down their throat now.
Yeah, like, I mean, it's like a Nuremberg rally in London during Pride Month. I actually inquired into how
You
easy...
see when they put all the new non-binary, the whole of Oxford Street?
Yeah. I inquired into how easy it would be to get an open top bus and...
To go down and get them?
And go and get them, yeah.
Come in this Pride.
This Pride, this summer.
We'll be there.
The police will be after it. You'll
go jail. You'll go jail.
You'll go to
You
jail.
go jail.
Yeah.
You can climb monuments, you can call for jihad, but you touch that Pride flag, you'll get banged up for years. One thing we haven't covered here is GB News.
Yes.
And I think we should. I think a lot of people want to know the true ins and outs of what went on. Let's cover it. When did you get the first call to work at GB News?
I got a call. I can't remember when I started working for them. It must have been like maybe August, September 2022.
Was you bearing in mind you've been cancelled, you lost all your work?
Yeah.
Was it a door that opened?
I was like.
Did you feel like?
I was like, this will be pretty good. They paid all right, and I was like.
Do you mind if I ask how they paid?
They paid me 200 grand.
A year?
Yeah.
Boom.
For 1 day a week.
Fucking hell, what a job!
Or unfortunately, not 1 day a week. 1 day and a small segment on Dan Wootton's show a week.
Unfortunately for Dan.
Oops. And so they hired me, and I was, obviously, look, I'm a father. I'm like, I've got to pay for my kids. So I was really chuffed about that. I did believe at the beginning that GB News, and I still believe that when they started GB News, they believed that they could
have free speech.
They were going to try to be brave, and then they hired me. Bearing in mind, I've already done like a million.
You've been pretty vocal
stuff, so they knew they knew what they were hiring. I turn up.
That's why they hired you.
Yeah. First week, I'm interviewing Trump because I've got a mate who knows Trump. So they're like, oh wow, this is going well. So, but immediately in the office, I'm like, I'm not really making any friends here.
Because all the other people employed by them. How are they?
They're just told what to do. Okay. So I go in and I'm like, I'm writing down a monologue, and I'm like, I'm going to call it the National Death Service because I'm talking about COVID and something. You can't say that. Can't call it National Death Service. I go, well, but I mean, factually, that's what it is. It deals with death, doesn't it, and life. But I'm just, it's my opinion. This week, they're like, can't say that. Then I'm like, okay, what? And then slowly, they just sort of wear you down to the point where you can't really say anything. They're very panicky in there, and I don't know what the point of it was, other than to get themselves Ofcom. You can't Ofcom or Ofcom, right? It's created this terrible situation whereby you're sat on TV and you've got to listen to someone agrees and someone disagrees and someone sits in the middle, and you're paying these people, I don't know what GB News were paying, or Talk TV, they must pay people like a couple of £100 just to turn up and disagree or agree with a thing, and it's boring telly. I found it dull. So I used to actually hate it, but as I said, they paid me good money to do it, so I went in. And then they wanted to do this story on that woman, Ava Evans, who said, that male suicide was part of the culture wars, and we were discussing earlier what sort of effect it has on your brain, the intense pressures of all of that. You go pretty close to those areas.
Have you gone closer?
Yeah.
You've contemplated it?
Yeah, a lot of times.
Do you mind if I ask, when you were contemplating it, what was you thinking at the time? Was you thinking you've had enough, or it'd be easier for your family, or what sort of things?
I think you just think this is too painful. This is just too. I can't face this anymore. This is just too painful. And actually, I want to rest. Do you know what I mean? In a sort, when it's in a sort of in a calm way.
I booked into a rehab for 28 days because I needed a break.
Yeah.
I just need a break.
Yeah.
So I need a break, man. I need a break.
Yeah.
On my own.
Yeah, on my own. So and I've also had mates who've topped themselves. So I was so triggered. If I'd responded immediately, to her, like on GB News that day or something, I would have talked about what she said. But they let it stewed for a day and a half, and by the end of day 2, I was like, who'd want to have anything to do with a woman like that? Because she would ruin your life. You go, how are you feeling? I just feel a bit, I'm feeling of whatever.
So you're on a show with Dan Wootton?
I'm on the show with Dan Wootton, and I go, he goes, let's talk about Ava Evans. By the way, I told everybody in the production team, they're all denying this now.
You told them all you were
I said exactly what I was going to say. Yeah. And they were all like,
Laurence.
Look at you, Mr. Controversial. And so I said it, and then they've got a delay. They could have just switched it off. They could have just gone, no. But they didn't. And then there's a girl called Rachel Reeves who was in the green room, which is just outside, and she saw me say it, and she was like, I'm in. And she got the pylon going.
Okay.
And
who is she? Was she a presenter?
She's a guest. She's a guest,
okay.
Yeah. And she's mates with Ava Santina. Okay. And then it was like the sort of the world's biggest confected outrage media storm of, what a terrible misogynist I am. It's like, ask my missus whether I'm a misogynist. When she's finished cleaning, sorry.
But when you say, who would shag her? Is that misogynist?
Yeah, it's also...
That's it's laddish banter.
And it's reported, man, that the head honcho of that station has, I've had a little dig around in what he's been up to.
I've had a dig around. He paid £200,000 to shut the girl up, didn't he?
He paid some money to shut the girl up.
This is the one of the top people in GB.
This was the guy that was crawling around the radio the next morning going, we're so upset about his misogyny, it's unacceptable. Okay. And I was just like, oh man, and also confected outrage is a great spotter. In the same way as establishment. Establishment is so good to spot where the establishment fits. So GB News, I think, are also part of this. Like, what they did is they gathered up a load of distant voices, and then they just kind of made them say the same thing, but looking edgy. And, fair game to them. I wish them all luck in the world. But I mean, I want
to ask, was your show successful on there?
I don't know.
Do you know the viewings?
I don't know. I think it was good. I think it did pretty well. But it was graveyard slot. It was Friday night.
Do you think they already had a way out for you guys planned? You see what they're doing now to Neil Oliver? Yeah. Where they're saying... They told me
they were going to do... Before I'd fallen out with them, they told me I was going to go online as well.
They were going to put you online?
Yeah.
And they were going to cut down what you're saying, were they? Or
I think they wanted me to say more, maybe, by going online. And then they could edit it all out. And put the show out. But I didn't really care as long as wherever the money was coming from. And people really enjoyed I enjoyed the writing of the monologues and stuff like that. I enjoyed that. But, at the end of the day, there are rules in life. And...
do you regret making that comment?
No. No.
Would you shag her?
No.
Honestly?
No, not. I wouldn't. I'm really... I've got a missus who's a million times better, more beautiful than she is. And no...
You can't always have steak, though.
Not unless you could... you could go like... I've got a meeting straight after and then give her the wrong phone number and leave, but I'm not that sort of person anyway. No, I wouldn't shag her still.
I'm only playing.
I don't like that. I don't like...
There was no outrage over her making a bit of a mockery of men's suicide, though?
No, but then it's one of the landmines, isn't it? A man can't say it to a woman can say it to a man.
But what happened to equality?
We're beyond equality. It's revenge now.
Yeah, of course.
And also, men are not. They're trying to get rid of the idea of what a man is. They want that out the way too. And I am one of those.
They're feminising men.
Yeah, bollocks to that. Literally.
When you lose straight away, was it next day, same day? Did you find out? See you later, Laurence.
I woke up in the morning and I.
Bing, 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 bing.
The first thing I saw on my phone was like one of those strap news headline things, and I was like, I saw my name and I was like, oh, I've never one of these before. And I looked at it, and then I was like, I went onto Twitter and it was like, and I was like, oh God.
Well, here we go.
So I just wrote down, I think, bollocks, don't care, whatever, and like, I said what I said, meant to be free speech. It's after the watershed. It's 10:15 at night, and and then the problem was Dan, because Dan deals with conflict in a slightly different way to me. I imagine you and I probably treat conflict in the same way.
Head on.
Yeah, and Dan dealt with it by going, he goes, I've got to apologise, I've got to get out of this. And
Probably because he's scared for his livelihood.
Yeah, well, I turn around to him and say, you're gay, mate, you don't have 2 kids to raise, so we're all scared for our livelihoods.
Yeah, true.
Thanks very much. And the family court tax to pay. So he goes, I said, yeah, but just do it, apologise, but just don't slag me off in your apology.
Did he?
Yeah.
I
said, if you do that,
I didn't know that.
I'm gonna share the message that
You sent me.
That you sent
Okay,
me.
so he sent you a message saying fair play.
I sent him a message going, I love making you laugh every
Show.
Monday night, and he turned back going like loads of smiley emojis or whatever. So I said, if you do that, I'm going to share that because you throw me under the bus, Dan, and take you with me.
And he doesn't need to throw you under the bus.
And he didn't need to, and he did, and then I did, and that was that. And then I read his subject access request because I asked for a subject access request from GB News to find out the inner workings, whether you're right, whether your view that they were planning a pathway either out permanently or just whatever. And it's so heavily redacted you can't get any information out of it. But what is in there is Dan's employment review, and it is just like, I had no idea what Laurence was going to say. I'm so sorry. I can't, but he's started up again,
Have you spoken to him since?
Yeah.
Are you cool?
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
I like Dan.
Okay.
I don't bear grudges.
Do you understand why he threw you under the bus?
Yeah, fear for his livelihood. He'd just been sacked by the Mail. Yeah.
Before that, he'd been sacked by the Mail. He's gone here.
No, he was doing side by side GB in the Mail.
Okay.
They'd sacked him, and then surprise, surprise, police investigation reveals no wrongdoing.
Nothing at all.
Nothing.
They built this image of him, the Guardian, right?
Yeah. They
Crucified him. Why do you think they're crucifying him? Do you think that's another case of he's talking about issues they don't want spoke?
Yeah.
He's building a following, and they don't want him to have it.
Yeah. The problem is they hand you a following every time they do it. So
they get you more of a following.
I'm just sat there reading it going, I'm not apologising. I've found the rest of them throw me under the bus. I was like, oh, that's why I didn't have many mates in this office.
Because their true colours come out?
Because
who,
also,
like who?
What's his name? Tom Harwood, is that his name?
Is that a mixed race lad?
No, that's
Tom Harwood, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, that's Calvin was a real genius and a gentleman and took one for the team. And then
explain that, because they've said you're going, they've suspended Dan Wootton.
And Calvin says, I'm not going to go on I'm hired to go on Dan's show as a panellist. I'm not going to go on until he's back when the investigation's complete.
Until Dan's back or you're back?
Yeah, and they said, no, until Dan's back.
So Calvin literally just said,
I'm hired to be on his panel. I'll carry on doing my show, but I'm not going to go on his panel until he's back. And they fired him. As a message to all of them.
Sit down and shut up.
Sit down, shut up, and then...
Because they could probably sense a bit of a rebellion, could they, come in?
Well, I don't think there's a rebellion coming, because they, on our side of the argument, we're quite... the reason why the other side are doing so well is because we're so cowardly. So I saw a few tweets from GB News people going, just appalling, despicable stuff, but...
so cringe.
Prior to working there, I'd gone on occasionally as a guest, certainly during COVID, and I'd sat with Tom Harwood and gone... he's like, why won't you take the vaccine? You should take the vaccine. I'm like, why? Do you take it if you want, mate? I'm not taking any of it. Leave me out of it. And he's like, why won't you take it? I said, because it's only been invented for about 30 seconds.
No one knows anything about it.
Yeah. And
why would you take it?
He's like, no, it has been through clinical trials. And I want to talk to you about...
Every animal that's tried on died.
These people are careerists that are, fair play to them. Would you want a career in TV news?
Sell your soul? Selling their souls?
Sell your soul. Everyone sells their soul to a degree, don't they? But I find that's one of the great things about not selling your soul. So even though I miss that money so fucking much to the point where I'm going to probably have to move out of London.
That won't be a bad thing, I don't think.
No, but my kids, and I love my kids.
They live in...
And they have schools. That's a major bother for me.
They spend 50, okay.
So it's cost me, but I'm also like, do I miss it? No. Was it making me happy? No. Do I think it's a worthwhile journalistic venture? No.
What are you going to do now?
Well, we're doing the legal stuff.
And you launched a new show last night, right?
I did a new show last night, which is good, but thanks to Bridgin's, I love Bridgin. Bridgin, yeah.
MP.
Yeah, so he used to be with us, and then you can tell from Bridge that he's a bit of a wild card, and he's quite hard to manage. So after a while, he was just like, and I was like, okay. And But the legacy of Bridge is that he did one YouTube on our YouTube saying something about vaccine harms, and we got a nasty
demonetisation,
something or something like that. So it's been quite suppressed, but it's good. You know, it works well. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do much more media. I'm going to stand. I think I'm going to stand against Sadiq Khan again this summer, and just do a really short campaign and go. We need to get this globalist bastards out and get rid of these anti-family statist ideologues out. And we need to get rid of the position of mayor. So I'll stand literally on the platform of going, from day one, I'll just go in and dismantle the whole office. So you've got one less area of government and you'll all get 450 quid as a bonus a year out of it. Because that's what we pay for that little.
Do you think we have a chance? Do you think even now? Because Sadiq Khan, it doesn't matter how bad he is, he's getting voted back in.
Well, yeah,
it looks like that.
Demography is destiny, isn't it?
Demography, yeah, it doesn't matter.
That's why it's so unfair. You've got to... I don't mind that it doesn't bother me so much that politicians are corrupt little bastards, because why would anyone ever try and get into politics unless they wanted to be in control of someone? That's horrible. What I do mind is that they don't do what they say on the tin. So you haven't conserved anything, and you deserve electoral oblivion.
Yeah, the Conservatives. One thing we haven't covered, which the last thing I'd like to cover if we can, is your arrest. You're sitting in your lounge at home.
Yeah.
Tell me what happens.
I've done Margid. I'd been on Margid's show the night before.
You've been on Margid Nawaz's. This is his own show because he got cancelled.
Yeah.
You're on Margid shows.
And he's talking about Ulez. Yeah. I've been looking into Ulez, and I'm like, all right, so you're telling me that there's an air pollution problem in Outer London, in the Outer London boroughs. Grant Shapps is, whilst there is document communication between Khan and Shapps saying to pay for lockdown, just extend the Ulez zone. That'll do it. So they're all in on it together. He's suppressed.
It's another tax.
Yeah, he's suppressed his own environmental report, which said it would make negligible difference. It costs a ton of money. And the bit that really bothers me about it, because I got forced into this position I'm in by my views and what I say. So if I'm going to be political in any way, I'm only going to be trying to represent the views of the people that I'm never spoken for. That's the only reason I got involved in this. So I'm sitting there and I'm going, all right, so White Van Man is now going to have to pay £12.50 on top of the congestion charge. And that's what's going to happen. But old Poshy McRicho can claim back the full price in year one benefit in kind of the cost of an EV and drive it free in London. So you're basically just literally going up to poor people and going, here you go, pay for my stupid crappy...
And people saying they're going to a house of prayer, I believe. So if you're going to a mosque, you don't have to pay.
Right, well, it's time to convert.
Yeah, well, this is from what I understand.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
when I looked at something, I was like, hold on a minute.
Well, anyway, my view was that a surveillance state is a bad idea. I don't want, and also if you're trying to make a surveillance state, or 50-minute cities, build this 50-minute city before you build the infrastructure to fine people for not living in it. So I made some comments about that to Sadiq, to Margid, and then next morning I'm sat home.
The next morning? So what time do you make the comments?
Evening.
In the evening?
Yeah, it aired in the evening.
And by 6 o'clock in the evening, and what time do the police come?
9:30, 10.
Wow.
Having missed and she told me that they missed my first house because they went to the wrong house first.
So they've already been to another address?
Yeah. They walk in. I was really lucky.
They don't come like that for anything?
Oh, they do. I was really
not for anything?
Yeah, but no, they wouldn't. You wouldn't get them there. You wouldn't get.
If you were being burgled, they would come?
Well, 4% of the time they would come.
Okay.
So they turn up, knock on the door. If I was expecting them, which I wasn't, I would have said, who is it? And not let them in, seeing if they'd smash my door down, which they would have done. Fortunately, my dogs were out, and I've got a really big American Labrador who is properly lovely, but he is so protective of me and my kids. Like, he's so protective. So I'm just grateful to God that he wasn't there, because they would have
killed him.
They would have killed him.
Yeah.
He would have taken him out. So they come barging in. I'm a bit like, oh, all right. This is the next phase of it, is it? The vicious intimidation by the police right in your face. So they come in and say, we're going to get you for encouraging or supporting a criminal damage or conspiracy to commit criminal damage. I'm like, look at me. Do I look like I could scramble up I've spent the last bit of time scrambling up lampposts to you? Come on. And they're like, 6, 7 of them come in the house. And then they just start ransacking the house.
Who's in the house?
Bridgen was there actually, because I was having a meeting with him.
Andrew Bridgen MP?
Yeah, we were about to go to the office.
The MP sat in your lounge and the police are raiding.
I was like, no, he was filming it. I was like, Bridge, film it, and because this is ridiculous. So then they go and they take my devices, my kids' devices as well, just as an extra fuck you from the Met.
For intel, do you think?
Yeah, because my kids have been planning. They've been planning a lot.
So they seize every electrical device.
Every electrical device in my
That's
house.
what their warrant covers them for.
Yeah.
What do they need the electrical device for?
To see whether I'm the head of the. Oh, can I? Which one can I say? I can't say.
To see if, because certain people have been cutting down these Ulez cameras, and they're coming in for your computers as though you're the organiser.
Yeah, I'm the head honcho.
Ridiculous, man.
Yeah, and so they put me in a police car. After an hour or so, after going around the house, the irony is that. Anyway, that's a different story, which I can't say. But they put me in a car, and we're driving down to Croydon Detention Centre, and didn't tell any. I was like, I need to let people know because I've got the kids and stuff. And they wouldn't let me do anything. Took me down to Croydon Detention Centre. I walk in there. I'm stood next to a guy who's got forensic sleeves on, covered in blood because he's just stabbed someone. I'm just like trying to be nice and polite to them as much as possible, stick me in a cell, interview me. They're like, do you want a solicitor? And I'm like, no, I'm all right, thanks. They interview me, trying to do their bit, and what are we, 6 months later, still got my kids' devices.
They've still got your kids' devices.
Yeah.
Are you still on bail?
Yeah.
Pending investigation?
Pending investigation.
It's been 6 months.
Got another 3 months they have.
Do you have any bail conditions?
Yeah.
What are they?
I can't say the plural of Blade Runner.
You can't mention the word Blade Runner. What the fuck? What is going on?
Oh no, man.
Sadiq, what's going on?
I can't mention...
Blade Runner.
No, the plural.
Okay.
The plural of it. I can't say what the name of the alleged group that...
Are called?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I can't remember what the other ones are. Something to do with not celebrating or glorifying any dismantling of the surveillance state. It's like, whatever.
What have your lawyers said you could face for this offence?
It depends on, it could be, between, I haven't really taken it that seriously, but it is a.
Maybe you should, bro.
You can. Well, what are they going to do? It's like, oh, fine.
Do what they want, mate.
Listen, I'm going to break my bail conditions as I announce my mayoral campaign, because I'm going to say all the things I'm going to do outside Scotland Yard. So, it's like, come and arrest me. That'd be interesting, won't it? A mayoral candidate saying what they're going to do if they get elected, breaks his bail conditions by saying it outside a police station.
Because you see the problem, what they've done with me, which is what I predict they'll do with you.
Yeah.
They'll lesser your charge to a very low charge, because you can't have a jury. They'll then just put you before a magistrate's court. So you've got no chance to convince 12 members of the British public, because you can only get 6 months in jail. At that point, you're down to a judge.
Right.
Yeah? That's what they do.
6 months, you reckon?
Well, that's what they can do. So, but you can, because I've faced charges that should be in the Crown Court, but they drop the charges to the lowest possible because you can't have jury, and then they just put you before a judge, and they hope that the judge thinks you're all the things they tell them you are. That's what they hope.
It's not a good time to be. We're not living in. This is what I was saying at the beginning of our conversation.
Because are they going to come and do that dawn raid? Yeah.
Yeah.
Are they going to come in such a public way where the whole country saw what they've done? They're in your house. Are they coming to do that without trying to push for a result? They need a result on you, I believe.
Yeah, but they're going to need some evidence.
No.
No. Okay, great.
They just need to put you before a judge.
This is what I meant about what I was talking to you about before, is the fact that I felt really peaceful about the fact that the whole thing is a mirage. Like the whole.
Once you've accepted it.
What?
Once you've accepted that, is that why you feel peaceful? Because now it's not.
Yeah, I'm like,
I get it.
like any vestige of the idea that anything in this country is not deeply corrupt, and that those people, I feel grateful that there are some people still wandering around thinking that they live in a democracy and they vote and it makes a difference.
System.
Anything, justice, it's education, everything. It's like I'm like, cool. Then I'm fighting for something that's worth fighting for. Then, and when I talk about the meaningful people-led movement, the one thing that it can't have is a fucking leader, because leaders want power. What we need is a multi-headed hydra of people who are going to get out there and show that we are the many, and that's what we need. And it will get there. We will get there. Whether we get there, sooner rather than later. I mean, you've been at this for a lot longer than I have, and you know it a lot better than I do.
Yeah, that's why I say, mate, get ready, because they can do what they want in court.
Get ready. They're going to throw me in the clink for 6 months.
I wouldn't put anything. For example, you saw me get arrested on the anti-Semitism rally.
Yeah.
The statements say that I was aggressive and violent.
Yeah, you were so aggressive and violent.
And the reason why he CS-gassed me because I was about to escape lawful custody. I was handcuffed with 30 coppers.
Oh, no.
But none of that matters, yeah?
No,
because
no.
the media who watched the video, doesn't matter what you've said, the media who watched the video will simply report what the officer's statement says.
Yeah.
And then it will go out all over the headlines. Tommy Robinson was aggressive and violent to police.
Yeah.
And that's why he's in the clink. That's why he's in jail.
Yeah, but the one alterable now, the one thing that has changed is you're back on X.
We're able to counter it.
You can talk and people will listen. Yeah. And I feel, like I said right at the beginning, I feel ashamed for being so naive whenever it was that you first popped into my public consciousness. Oh, there's this guy going around being really racist. But I was like, he must be a racist. The media have told me he's a racist. And then I got a bit more curious when I was like, he's outside court making sure he's covering grooming going, that sounds like, why aren't the media doing that? But we've got to stick together. Especially the brave ones, like the ones that are willing to take those hits. If it means 6 months in jail, it means 6 months. We have to stick together. So
they martyr you essentially. If they put you in jail for that, they'll martyr you.
Yeah.
And everyone who's against you, Les, will feel you've took the hit for them. So then they'll build an even bigger base beneath you. They mess up every time. It's like with me.
They overreach.
It's like, you idiots. Would you? I spoke to Katie Hopkins. I think there's lots of people who've been through the process we've been through. Would you participate in the biggest? I want to work with people to organise the biggest freedom of speech rally this country's ever had. Yeah. Over the summer.
100%. Let's do it.
Break your bail conditions there.
Well,
we'll all do it.
If I run for mayor, if I run for mayor,
when is the mayoral election?
It's on the 5th of May or 6th of May.
Okay.
So
this would be after.
I would announce my candidacy on. I've just done a bit of polling about this ending the mayoral thing, which will come out next Friday. So I'll make my mind up over the weekend, next weekend, and then I'll come out and I'll stand outside the police station or somewhere and say, this is what I'm going to do if you let me mayor. No one's going to let me mayor because Sadiq's got it, as you said, it's a shoo-in, and elected officers are all corrupted. Look, we got a foreign secretary who's not even elected, and we got a prime minister who wasn't. I mean, he was elected, but he wasn't.
It was elected by people. Neither was the Prime Minister of Ireland or Scotland.
Yes.
What world do we live in?
Funny that, isn't it?
It's mad.
But people will, they have to, because the centre cannot hold, they have to wake up. And they will, slowly. But the fact that Musk has left that door open for us is so good.
Yeah, it's good to have a voice back.
Because people are there. The BBC traffic on BBC website is down. People who watch BBC is massively down. ITV just announced that they're going to cut huge numbers of jobs. People are switching it off. They're bored of being brainwashed. And once you stop being brainwashed,
you're awake to it. You're awake to it.
Yeah. Why are you popular? You're not popular because there's a bunch of racists in this country. You're popular because you're willing to take a couple of slugs in the face for it. And I think that's probably the same for me.
Yeah. Where can people follow you? Where can people see what you do next? Where can people watch what you're going to do when you announce your mayoral candidacy?
Well, it'll probably be on X, won't it? We'll stream it on there. You can follow me on Loz of Fox on, I think, most platforms. It's like Loz of Fox on X and on Instagram. And then we got the Reclaim Party, which is also on both those, and I think it's on Facebook as well, and on YouTube, and it's constantly getting suppressed.
I love having this opportunity to sit down with gentlemen or women who they've attempted to silence and sort of send them a message. You know, it's not working. The voices get louder as the years go on. These people, Laurence shouldn't be here, I shouldn't be here, most of my guests shouldn't still be here, but we are, and our numbers are growing.
Amen.
So thank you, Laurence. I've
Thank
enjoyed
you,
it.
brother. Me
Thanks
too.
for coming down. And yeah, if you're watching this, please share it. Subscribe to my Rumble channel, and thanks for your support.
Carry on watching for more interesting guests. I'll talk to anyone. I'll debate anyone. I'll hear anyone's story. If you want to help me along that way, it's not free. I need your support. If you can support my family, that gives me my peace of mind. It means I can continue to do the work I do. You can do so at www.supporttommy.com. I appreciate every bit of support, as do my children. It gives me the ability to fly them out here to see me so I can stay in constant contact with them. I'm deplatformed and I'm censored, so I need you. I need you to share this content. And make sure you stay tuned for upcoming weekly guests, interesting guests, exciting guests. I'm Tommy Robinson, and this has been my podcast, Silenced.